it is, well, the premise is inherently very dark, and it's a very violent book. Like, these characters get the hell beat out of them. You know, like I think at least 3 of these guys have healing factors, and Remender really takes advantage of that. I mean, especially like Wolverine. I mean, these characters are burnt and stabbed and chopped up and shot, and it's just like, it's really violent. But it's not like a really. It doesn't have like the feeling of like just relentlessly doom and gloom and dark, and there's a sense of real fun to it, and it's really funny. Like Phantom X and especially Deadpool are like really funny, and like Remender is having fun with it. You know, like the whole concept of weapon infinity and bringing in Deathlock and the Age of Apocalypse, and now we see he's going to do the Captain Britain Corps. There's a sense of real fun to it. So it kind of has this mix. It's like dark, real dark, serious kind of stories and sort of dark characters in some cases, but it's always kind of offset against a lot of humor and genuinely funny humor. So it's really fun to read. I felt really energized reading these comics. I really enjoyed them. I just thought it was great.
Yeah, I enjoyed them too. I thought they were great too.
I was really impressed with these.
Yeah, and the first thing I read from Rick Remender is actually, well, we got like the first trade a while ago, but we haven't read it because we were thinking we were going to do a podcast. But I started to pick up just Secret Avengers with Rick Remender, and I just really enjoyed what I was reading there. So I was kind of anxious to get to this material.
Yeah. Well, now I'm anxious to get to Secret Avengers, and he had a run on Punisher, and I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, it's pretty clear that these comics are I just think they're excellent. It's just cool. Like, this is just a cool book. Black Ops X-Men, man. What else did I like about it? I mean, I like that he uses continuity, like I said, but it doesn't make you feel as though it's not dependent on the continuity. Like, he doesn't just reference these things and expect the fans to bring their own knowledge to make it a cool story. Like, these would be really cool stories even if you didn't understand any of these references. But if you do understand them, it really adds a layer of just kind of depth and world building to this book. You know, it's really exactly how continuity should be used. It's consistent with what's come before, but it's also just using it as a departure point. It's taking it into cool new areas. That's even reflected in things like X-Force's headquarters, which I love their headquarters, Cavern X, this mountain hideout in Arizona. And it's basically like the Batcave for X-Men. So they have all these trophies and archives and mementos and portraits from previous incarnations of all of the different X-Men teams. So again, it's like you don't need to get all those references, but if you do, it just kind of adds a level of history to these characters. So that was really cool. I feel like Remender's whole approach to continuity in the book is sort of reflected in their really cool hideout, Cavern X. Yep. Yeah.
And I really like Psylocke, which you just barely touched on. She's the lone female on here. And people have kind of like criticized that character before just because she is kind of a muddy character and so much has been inconsistent in her past, and she's this nationality, she's an Asian, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And he plays with that a little bit in this too. Yeah. But I like his sense of humor throughout this book. I don't really know Deadpool at all. I don't think I've really read anything with him before. Yeah, he's a great character.
He's a fan favorite character for sure. I've not either been like, I missed the boat on Deadpool, even though I'm a big Rob Liefeld fan. I've never just really been a big fan of Deadpool in the way that a lot of people are, but he's a really, really funny character here. But also a character with a little bit of depth, too. Like, even he is conflicted about some of the things, some of the decisions that the team is making. Just like all the characters are handled so well, and the stories are so creative and so cool. Like, I think I probably like the Deathlock Nation arc the best in a lot
Oh,
of
really?
ways. Yeah, in a lot of ways. I mean, of course, it all led up to the Dark Angel saga, which was great.
Yeah, I think Deathlock Nation was my least favorite, actually.
Yeah, I really like that one. I really like the idea of. I just thought it was really smartly written science fiction. I mean, I really liked when Grant Morrison expanded the concept of Weapon X and introduced the concept of the Weapon Plus program, and that Weapon X was just the 10th in a series of these assassins, and Remender kind of builds on what Morrison did there and kind of projects that premise forward to its logical conclusion with Weapon Infinity, right? Which is this army of Deathlocks who are able to traverse all of time and all different timelines in order to ensure that the utopian future that they have experienced comes about. But it's a utopia where all the superhumans have become these undead cyborgs, right? And I just like the Deathlock Nation story because it took a long time to kind of figure out exactly what was going on, and you didn't know until like the very last page, like, why are they coming off of Phantom X? What is Phantom X hiding behind that door? And it just ended on like a really chilling image. It was just really cool, I thought. It kind of played off of the previous story arc and set up the next one. But it was all really strong material. I actually thought the Age of Apocalypse stuff was not the best part of it. That's kind of one of the things I heard most about this book, that they kind of go back to the Age of Apocalypse. I just felt like that was one area where Remender didn't do as much new stuff with it. He just he did, but a lot of it just seemed to me like, you guys like the Age of Apocalypse, like, here's the Age of Apocalypse. Like they went, it was much more basic than a lot of the other stories. It just wasn't he didn't do as many creative things with it, I thought, as he did with like the Weapon Plus program, or even like some of the Apocalypse stuff in the first story arc. So I liked it. Good things came out of it, but it wasn't like, to me, it wasn't like the highlight of the issues. But it was all good for sure. I really enjoyed it. And I like too how like there's kind of like a theme in the book of like, the suppression of darkness and the suppression of evil and the hiding away of the dark aspects of ourselves, right? So that's like inherent in the very premise of X-Force, because they're a team that's operating in secret. They don't want the other X-Men to know about them. They're doing these dark things. They're killing people. They're doing what they feel needs to be done, but they're doing it in secret, right? And the characters have a lot of guilt and conflict about that, and like trouble is brewing. And then the characters themselves are all harboring like kind of dark aspects of themselves. Obviously, Angel is like the best example of that, which is why the Dark Angel saga is kind of the culmination to this point in the series. But also Phantom X with what he's doing, his little scheme he's got going that the others don't find out about until the end of the Dark Angel saga. So it's a lot of hiding away of secrets and suppressing the dark aspects of these characters. So I thought that was a cool kind of theme that played out across the whole run of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a solid book overall.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I just thought it was fantastic. Yeah. And we reviewed a couple of the other X-Men books not too long ago, Wolverine and the X-Men and Uncanny X-Men. We just looked at the first issues. And I just thought those ones were so like bogged down with continuity and kind of dependent on the continuity of the X-Men for you to find any kind of entertainment value in them. Judging just on the first issues. I know that people really like that Wolverine book, and you said Uncanny X-Men has gotten really
both
good.
of those books have gotten really good.
Yeah.
And both have dealt with things from Uncanny X-Men.
Well, but see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise me because I feel like Remender is like he's really going to new places. There's a freshness to this book that you don't always see in X-Men comics. You know, they have such complex continuity. They're kind of a little universe unto themselves. And there have not been a lot of writers over the years who have been able to inject some fresh ideas into that universe. At least from my opinion. I think from someone from the outside looking in who's not necessarily an X-Men fan. Like, for me, if there's not really anything interesting going on in the X-Men comics, I just won't read X-Men for years at a time. That's fine with me. Not everyone is like that. Like, some people just always read the X-Men, you know, and are invested in those characters above and beyond the quality of the stories. But for me, from someone on the outside looking in, it's like, it takes like a Grant Morrison or like a Rick Remender to really come in and have a fresh approach that's respectful of what's come before, but also isn't afraid to push these characters in some really exciting new directions.
I think the writers of the other X-Men titles are doing a really good job right now.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes me want to go back and check out at least Wolverine and the X-Men because a couple of the characters kind of move over into that book at the end of the Dark Angel saga.
And he establishes some new cool things too. And same with Kieran Gillen on Uncanny X-Men. I mean, the whole Tabula Rasa thing is dealt with in there for a big period of time. And he does a lot of really cool things with, like, he did that Sword miniseries a while ago, which was a nice, fresh thing that introduced a lot of things to the universe, too.
Yeah.
Galactically, or just in the orbit of Earth, I guess. But he brings a lot of that stuff into Uncanny X-Men, too, and it's his own, and he's doing a lot of really cool things with that, too.
Well, maybe I need to give those other X-Men books a chance, but the bar has been set pretty high by Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force. I would say that this is probably the best comic that Marvel's putting out right now. At least that I've read.
You don't read a lot of X-Men, or a lot of Marvel comics, though. But it is definitely one of the strongest out there. But, yeah.
I read a few.
Yeah.
But I just love this so much. Like, I feel like this is it kind of like what we talked about when we reviewed the Jack Kirby comics last week a little bit. This kind of like, you know, taking it seriously, but not taking it so seriously that you can't have a little bit of fun with it. Like, I feel like, you know, there's just like really cool ideas and concepts like the Life Seed and the Dark Angel saga and Weapon Infinity and the concept of the world and all this kind of stuff. It's just like Cavern X. It's just like, I just feel like Remender is having so much fun here. Yeah. You know, and now he's doing like Captain Britain. You know, it's just like, it's just a delight to read. I just absolutely, I can't recommend this book highly enough. I think it's fantastic. I'm so grateful that we read it. It's going to go to the top of my reading pile every month. And I'm going to check out everything else by Rick Remender.
Good. Yeah, it's a very stark contrast from the DC's New 52, which is almost a desperate attempt to like, you know, inject new life into these series. I mean, all you have to do is get a really like great creator with, you know, some cool concepts to inject into the universe, and you can really have something really revitalize the whole X-Men franchise.
He makes it look easy, but if everyone could do it, you know.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, Jonathan Hickman did the same thing with Fantastic Four.
Yeah, his writing is reminiscent to me of people like Grant Morrison and people like Jonathan Hickman. Like, it's these kind of big sci-fi concepts, but also just a fresh approach to these characters. What an excellent book. Yeah. I mean, to me, this is a really great example of what modern mainstream comics should read like.
Yeah, and instead of, you know, just mining the field and doing before Watchmen and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Just get really good creators on these books.
Move forward, not back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like DC is just catering to the fans, but I mean, Marvel's interested in, you know, revitalizing things without just restarting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they seem to me like they have a more vibrant kind of creative roster of talent. And I don't know, maybe I'm just more a fan of the Marvel characters. Maybe the Marvel characters are inherently a little bit more interesting than DC's characters. It seems like their books are a lot more creative and exciting and just kind of a little weird, you know, a little edgier, which I really enjoy. So yeah, these are just great books. So, highest possible recommendation for Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force. Absolutely. I will continue to read it, for sure.
Check it out, and check out his other books.
Yeah, I will. Well, yeah, for sure. I will do that.
I was recommending it to them,
but
you too.
But I'm going to too.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in for this week's Comics and More podcast. We'll see you next time.